Hey everyone, we have a lot of topics today, so we should get started as soon as possible. First, we're gonna have Dale presenting us policy generator. Then we're gonna talk about onboarding the cluster API proxy server, and then at the end, we might talk about creating a new repo as an entry point for the community. So first things first, Dale, could you please share your screen and please take it away. Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Mike. Okay, let's see. That should work. Can everyone see the policy generator README?
Yep.
All right. So I'll just go through this fairly quickly. The goal is to generate OCM policies from existing Kubernetes manifests, because users probably have a lot of manifests out there that they use already. And so being able to generate them means they don't have to have an additional, they don't necessarily have to have an additional manifest created. They can use our generator and then create them automatically. And so, let's see. The goal, let's see. Yeah. So the goals here are a generic, just taking a Kubernetes manifest and turning it into a policy. We also have ties to Gatekeeper and Kyverno, which are policy engines that run on single clusters. So being able to generate policies, OCM policies for those, will let us distribute those policies to those engines also. And so our architecture that we're looking at is using a customized plugin. And so customize, a lot of users are already using customize, so it makes a lot of sense to just build our own binary. And so we've done that. And then using customize, they can tweak the policy as they want. They can modify the standards, the controls, the category annotations that are applied. They can disable them, enable them, set the remediation actions, adjust the placement rules as they like, all basically in a single file. So your basic customization.yaml file, which is like the root of the customization, is this, and then you put in your generator right here. You specify your generator YAML, and then customize will do the rest using our plugin. And then you can also add, if you want to patch the policies in some of your own ways that we don't provide, you can still do that. You can use customize to apply your own labels across all the policies outside of our generator if you want to do that also. So let's jump down to so we're going to look at what this policy generator file would look like. And sorry for the bumping around. So it's a policy generator kind, and so what customize does here is it will look for a binary of the same name in its own plugin directories on your system. So that's how you install it, is you build our binary and then you copy it over to that folder, and customize will find it and use it. So you can specify here, we have policy defaults, which will specify kind of a global defaults to use for all the policies, and you can also override them, and I'll show you that later. So you can specify the categories, controls, and standards of a policy. Those are annotations if you're not familiar with policies. And then there's a couple policy-specific things like consolidating manifests that I won't get into. But here you can, Kyverno has a special expander, because in order to check for the status, you can we provide an expander that'll create additional policies automatically to run those checks, so you don't have to actually have the additional policies up there. It'll create them for you. And then you can specify the placement here. And down here, you specify your policies, all the manifests. If you want to patch, if there's something in your configuration or your manifest that you want to patch, you can do that here. And then you can override any of the defaults. So a workflow would look like a user would put their Kubernetes resource manifest into Git, and then your security engineer or infrastructure engineer, whoever wants to generate the policies, creates a PR with the customization YAML and the generator configuration, and then you can either generate it or we could put the binary into the subscription controller, which would and then the subscription controller has customized abilities, and so it could, if we put it there, it could also they don't even need to generate the policies using customize. Our controller could take care of it. Otherwise, they would generate the policies in the repo and then have the subscription controller pick them up. So here's a basic example just to illustrate. So I've got my policy generator YAML here. I've got a placement specified, and I've got a path to my YAML and a patch that I want to apply. And so here's my manifest. It's a config map. It's kind of silly. And then here's the output. It outputs the placement rule. And I realized when I was typing this out, we'll need to update placement rule for upstream because it's no longer, the placement rule doesn't exist upstream. We'll have to update that to the placement API, but it creates the placement binding, and then it creates the policy. And here's my configuration that it's looking for. It's wrapped inside of a policy. And so for Kyverno, I was talking about expanders. And so here's a similar example with your generator file specifying a Kyverno policy. And here's your Kyverno policy right here. It's got its rules, and it's looking for a label. And so if I scroll down so here's my Kyverno policy, and then we've expanded it to also look for the policy reports that it shouldn't find, just so it can report on any failures if this policy reported that there were resources out there that need to be fixed. So, and then test plan and graduation criteria. I guess for the sake of time, I'll pause and see if there are any questions. All right.
Yes, I think I left some comments in it, and I will try to review the PR again. I think one of the things that maybe I'm not clear is like, because I think it's just a plugin for the customize. Do you think that we actually should put it in for example, we have a repo about the client, which is called cluster EDM, and do you think this one should have a separate repo to maintain, or this one could be a component in the cluster EDM? I'm not quite sure about that. Yeah.
At least my thoughts are that it's nice to have a separate repo because then we can have a separate release cadence. And then maybe a subset of folks can have maintainer rights on the Git repo as well for just the policy generator plugin, not give them access to the cluster ADM repo.
Yeah.
The other thing, if we want to put it in the subscription controller, I think it's probably more straightforward if it's a separate repo to put our binary into the controller.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you think if we can use the generator to generate manifest work resources? Because I think it's conventionally it's we put those static resources inside we organize a static manifest by the following the directory structure of customize, and it's kind of hard to crafting out a manifest work resources out of them manually sometimes.
I think that's a really good idea for the community for this piece, is being able to extend it into that as well.
Yeah, I like that. I think maybe it's a generator not tied to the policy, but a more common generator.
Yeah, because years ago when we are practicing using customized to organize those resources to be deployed in multiple clusters, we are tending to like having each overlay. So there are overlay directories for each clusters. So when there we have like almost 50 clusters. So it's gonna be a very long list of overlays, and also applying those overlay directories are really it will take time and it's not really convenient. So if we can use the generator to generate a list of manifest work, then that will be simplifying everything a lot.
So maybe we could start with bringing the policy generator in and then come up with a design doc where we try to generalize a little more either the implementation, or maybe it is that we just take the pieces we like and start from the ground up to rebuild, to build a parallel one that maybe can do both, or that is specific for manifest work.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. A lot of our logic is pretty specific to policies, but we'd be happy to show you what we did, and so that you could create another generator, or we can look at generalizing ours, like we said.
Sure.
Maybe what I think is like instead of creating a repo called policy generator plugin, we probably can consider seeing like an OCM customized generator plugin that could include different generators.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, and start with policy. I like that.
Even if they are separate, they can still live in the same repo.
yeah.
Yeah, and you'd be able to reuse a lot of our code, I think. It's pretty modular, so you would have to probably write a decent amount, but I think a lot of it could be reused. And like we were saying, having two generators in the same repo makes sense for sure.
Cool.
Well, that was a great discussion. But the outcome we were hoping for is to get the approval from Min and maybe Qiucheng and Josh regarding if we are able to onboard this repo to the upstream community or not. So maybe we can, because you have already packaged it today, maybe we can take that on the back channel Slack and then just some more. What's coming up next is Kim and Qiucheng was going to present onboarding the cluster API proxy repo. So Min Kim and Qiucheng, whenever you're ready, please be share your screen. Thank you.
Ming, do you want to share? So for me, it's like we have merged a PR about the enhancement. So about the cluster proxy, the only thing that we want to get the feedback is, is there any objection that we create a repo on the OCM to host this project? I might still have some concern about the name because actually I think because there are also another two following PRs about the gateway and how do we do a multi-cluster service account. So maybe we need a more general name for the repo, so they put all the three different things into one repo. But the first thing is there any comments or feedback on the creating that repo? If not, I think we are good to go with that project.
I think we're good to go. Josh, any comments? Sorry to put you on.
Hey,
No, I think I'm good.
So, for a second, I'm looking for the cap. Here we are. Yes. So I just pasted three caps in the chatting board, and in the very beginning, I put them all together in the first cap, but in order to break down the work into multiple parts, so I appended two other caps. The first one I see it's merged a few hours ago, so we discussed about it like in the last meeting I remember, and it's about it's like for providing the mutual cluster network connectivity accessibility for between the hub cluster and the managed cluster, and so in order to make the Kubernetes API works over the proxy, so the third cap is number 24. It's a cap about projecting the service account tokens back from the managed clusters to the hub cluster, so that the consumers, it can be a web service or other operators, to consume the projected service account tokens from in the hub cluster, then pushes the Kubernetes API request through the tunnel to the peer to the target API servers in the managed cluster. So that's basically how the second cap works. And the number 25, it's a new cap to based on the former two. It's an oh, am I? Oh, I should share my screen. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought I was sharing my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, we can see it now.
Yeah. So it was this one is the projected tokens I just talked about. And the last cap I'd like to talk about is the multi-cluster API gateways. This is a basically a aggregated API server based on the so there is a mechanism of API server aggregation for extending Kubernetes APIs. So this cap is proposing a HTTP web server as a Kubernetes aggregated API server. Then the API gateway can be used to proxying to delegate the the Kubernetes resources to target managed clusters from using through a single entry point, which is working by so if you know there's an existing sub-resource named service proxy or pod proxy. So this one is basically a cluster proxy, which is so there will be a new aggregated API resource named cluster gateways, and it has a sub-resource named proxy. Everything so you can put a you need to put a prefix to the original Kubernetes API path, which contains the name of the managed cluster. So for example, for example, if we are sending a /house request to cluster full, then the API path is gonna be it's gonna be like /apis/open cluster management.io /cluster gateways /full and /proxies and /house. So the gateway will be trimming off the prefixes and delegate the real Kubernetes API path to the managed cluster. And I was proposing to add another set of client utilities, which is based on the original Kubernetes API client generators. So the original generators has a mechanism named expansion. We can add some of our customized client utilities based on the Kubernetes client to this interface. So as you can see, we can get a native Kubernetes client by passing a cluster name. Then the return value will be a client instance. And for example, if we are trying to get a namespace for cluster full, then this will be the code looks like. This cap I just opened it yesterday, so I was just trying to join more attentions and collect more review comments as many as I can. So that's the basically all the things I like to talk about on the general proxy topic. Do you guys have any comments or questions?
So echoing what QJang said regarding the repo name, are we planning to have that repo encapsulate all three enhancements, or is it only going to take care of the proxy add-on?
I'm not sure, but actually, I'm fine with the name. I'm think I'm fine with the name though.
Yeah, we can. So there's an issue then that we can discuss more about this name, but yeah, I think that's fine. I think the two part, another two cap is to ensure that if you have a controller, that you can build a client to talk to the different clusters on the different multiple clusters. So I think that might be one of the use cases that we want to achieve in the proxy also, right? To get the status of the resources.
Yes. The major use case is for collecting the status through the proxy, and also the actor can be an operator or It can also be a web services for such as a dashboard on our PaaS platforms. For example, if we are querying the content of a config map or secrets on the UI dashboard, then the web services is gonna send a real direct Kubernetes request through the tunnel. Sometimes I think we can trim off the proxy tunnels because if the networks between the hub clusters and the manager clusters is flattened, if they can mutually connect it. But the second cap, the managed service accounts or the service account token projection, we're gonna every web services is requires a token for passing the authentications for the to those managed clusters Groovy API server.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think sounds like we have an agreement that we will create a project to hold these functions. Just maybe discuss about the name in the issue. But I think yeah, sound that we have an agreement.
Yeah, there is an issue in the community repo about a month ago. Yeah.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I would like to get to our first topic of the day. So for part of to enhance our chances of getting to the CNCF sandbox, we were recommended to create a more generic entry level repo. So right now, currently, we have the 2-pin repo at API and community. It was recommended that we create a new repo called that's to be discussed here. I guess we can call it OCM-IO or Open Cluster Management-IO or Open Cluster Management. What that repo can do is we'll host some docs and maybe some scripts that will allows the user to use management easier, which sort of create like a gateway for the community. So Qiujang, what do you think about that? Is that something that we should be doing?
Yeah, I think that's the recommendation from the Kim Min, and because if so there's a project called Spinnaker, I think. So it's
yeah.
So it's
yeah.
quite the same thing as us, that we have a lot of repos. They have like 50 or 40 repos, but they have a entry point called just the project name is the same as organization name. It's a Spinnaker, if I might remember. Is correct.
Yes. The project Spinnaker is actually made up of multiple or about 10 separate microservices. So there is for Spinnaker there's also no single entry point for collecting the stars. So they had a repo with the same name of the overall project named Spinnaker. There's no code in that repo, but every visitors will be tagging their stars on that entry point.
Okay. So I think idea.
Sorry.
What about the naming? Do we go with what Spinnaker do? Which is the same org name and the same repo name, which makes it sort of easy for user to find, or should we use another name?
I would personally suggest the same. I have seen not just Spinnaker, but a lot of projects, including I think Jenkins and a couple other big projects, have that sort of landing repo that's just a README that links off to, all the other requisite projects. It's literally a repo that gets you to the org. Is what it is a landing page. So that's what I've seen most of the time. That being said, as a user, I find it very confusing, but it seems to be a standard.
Okay. I'm okay with that as well. My only concern is we have this website repo that is really close to to the name of our org as well. But I'm sure that if someone visit here, they'll know that this is just a website repo versus if we go to our soon to be created entry level repo, it will look probably it'll probably look similar to with some of the content from a community like this. And
I was
then
gonna say most of the time it's like here's a landing page that gets you started. It's almost like a mirror of the website.
right. On top of that, it'll be pinned as well. So it'll be pinned here. So I mean, it'll sort of avoid the confusion between the website. So I think, in my personal opinion, it should be the same name as the org. Josh, put you on the spot again. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I guess I'm fine with it. I'm the analytics guy, so it's always about, does everybody also have, like, it just seems a little weird going next to community. I'm just looking at what I mean, actually our API has the most stars, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So is there any way that we can transfer the star from one repo to another?
Yeah, I mean, let me find out if there's a way to get, not to transfer, but maybe to get them to count both or something, or across. Anyways, like, because it's not, I mean, even if we create it, it'll be starting now. It's, it's not like people are going to move their anything they put an existing star on either. But, I mean, we can do it and see what happens.
Okay. Min mentioned that he prefers the open cluster management without the -io. Min, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm a bit not sure about whether we should have the IO suffix, because it sort of reminds me. It's like for me personally, I think if there's a repo with the suffix IO, it will be kind of like a GitHub blog page. I'm not sure if that will lead to more confusion. I'm not sure.
I think Jenkins actually has a similar thing where they actually have two repos. One is Jenkins and one is Jenkins IO or Jenkins CI. That's where it gets incredibly confusing. So either way we go, we should make sure we don't have a repo that matches the other name as well.
Yeah, and we do right now is the problem, the midstream, until we rename the Open Cluster Management midstream, it has the same name, which might cause confusion. That's why I was suggesting that if we don't want the IO, then we could call it OCM as a short form. But otherwise, if we want to use the full Open Cluster Management, then I think we probably need to use the -io to avoid confusion with the other repo, which is different. So that's the problem.
Yeah, I think OCM works for me, and probably if we rename it, the midstream one, we still can rename the OCM to the full name in the future.
Right, that's true. Yeah, we can always rename if it's something that we want to. Okay, so I guess the consensus seems to be we're gonna create the repo, and the naming. Maybe we can discuss more on the Slack as well, and then come to a consensus. Josh, do you want to say something?
Nope, I was nodding my head. I agree. The OCM sounds fun. I'm just poking around now on the Jenkins Git to look at what it looks like, and a few others. But yeah, I can agree to that.
I think Spinnaker was the one I was thinking of. Jenkins has this problem with their Docker images for all of their bits.
Yeah, because
On
Jenkins
Docker
is
Hub.
Jenkins CI, and then Jenkins is like their kind of entry point one, so they didn't put the
Yep.
CI in the name. But
And they deprecated the Jenkins one and point you to the CI one, and yeah.
like Argo is similar. Argo has Argo Proj and like is the org, and Argo Proj is the entry repo.
Man, are you okay with OCM? Just the three-letter OCM.
Yeah. I think it's better than the IO one.
Okay. Okay, I think we have consensus one. Thank you, everyone. That was a great meeting with a lot to discuss. So just to wrap up again, we're gonna talk offline regarding the policy generator repo name. We're gonna onboard. We're gonna create the repo for the proxy, and then we're gonna create the repo OCM for the community. I linked the free shirt request in the chat. If you're interested. That's it for me. Are there any other topics anyone wants to bring up? If not, thank you, everyone. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. See ya.
Bye bye.
Right.